Yes, today I want to talk about Icao, International Civil Aviation Organization. So Icao, first was the first meeting they held was in the year 1944, 7th of December, and this led to Provisional International Civil Aviation Organization. And majorly, it didn't last for long because in 1947, October, the Icao, in April 1947, the convention was ratified in Chicago. So the convention that was ratified in Chicago led into Icao. So Icao members ratified the convention. After that convention was ratified, then the function for Icao was the Icao Council was to adopt standard and recommended practices concerning the air navigation, its infrastructure, flight inspection, prevention of unlawful interference, facility and border crossing procedures for international civil aviation. So this was to also lead in aircraft accident investigations. So later, it was developed, and every country had to become member of ICAO. So we always have elections for the Council of ICAO, and they're supposed to take care of all the operations of air navigations and air operation around the world. Now, the headquarters of ICAO is in Montreal, Canada. That is where the headquarters of ICAO is. There have been uh, some attempts to move it. I remember Qatar in 2019 had offered to build a center or headquarters of ICAO in Doha. This was defeated when the vote was taken, and Qatar lost the bid to hold the headquarters of ICAO to be moved from Montreal, Canada to Doha in Qatar. This was because there's been a lot of complaint that due to the bureaucracy in Canada, accessing ICAO offices for services was not that easy. Now, today, ICAO holds its meeting and they have around 193 members around the world. But this is because when ICAO held its meeting and came up with the of air or the rights of privilege, it made it almost impossible for any individual or company or organization to operate aviation services without being members of ICAO. There were nine freedoms or privileges. We call them privilege or freedom that have been granted to anybody that is operating an aircraft or aviation services. Now, among the nine, five of them were agreed upon by all nations and they became mandatory. But the rest, out of nine, the four of them were not agreed upon universally by all countries. So the five, the first two are called technical, and the rest three are called commercial. So the technical are the freedom or the right of one ICAO country or an aircraft that has a registration from one nation. So let's say it is an aircraft that is flying from Dubai, it will have A6 registration. If it is from America, it will have N November registration. So that is an ICAO given registration for the nationality of the aircraft. So every aircraft that comes from an ICAO state can fly over the airspace of another ICAO state, can fly over. So the right of privilege in respect to the scheduled international air services granted by one state to another state or state to fly across its territory without landing. So an aircraft can fly across territory of another ICAO nation without landing. That is right of freedom. The second freedom or privilege is in respect of the scheduled international air services granted by one state to another state or state to land in its territory for the purpose for the technical purpose. So let's say that an aircraft needs to refuel, or an aircraft has a technical breakdown in the engine, then it just needs to land to get it fixed and then fly to another state. This is allowed because as an aircraft coming from one state which is an Icao state, having registration number of that country, can fly and land in any other Icao state in the event of technical purposes for the sake of, let's say, refueling or technical failure or any other reason which doesn't include carrying or dropping of traffic. This is allowed. So the ICAO laws and rules brought in peace and ways in which each country, each civil aviation organization, in case of an accident, in case of any technical or legal information or legal requirement between states, would be solved through an ICAO. The other three freedoms were commercial, how luggage and passengers can be carried from one state to another. So this made it almost impossible for any person to operate without an ICAO. Now, for the standard recommendation and practices, we allowed every nation was given their own authority to come up with the regulations that will be used uh, to control or regulate aviation in their own countries. So, for example, annexes were developed. And in ICAO, we have a total of 19 annexes, of which the first annex is personnel licensing. The second one is the rules of the air. The third one is meteorological services. The fourth one is aeronautical charts. The fifth, unit of measurement. Six, operation of the aircraft. Seven, aircraft nationality and registration marks. Eight, airworthiness of the aircraft. 9, facilitations. 10, aeronautical telecommunication. 11, search air traffic services. 12, search and rescue. 13, aircraft accident and incident investigation. 14, aerodrome. 15, aeronautical information services. 16, environmental protection. 17, security. 18, the safe transport, that is the dangerous goods by air. And 19 is the safety management. So each country was given their own prerogative to institute and develop their own laws. So each country has their own prerogative to come up with their own laws. But each law that will be developed by the ICAO states will be guided upon by the annexes. For example, let's say you are dealing with personnel licensing, Annex 1. Every ICAO state will be given the standard practices to make uh, a personnel, to develop a personnel to be a qualified engineer or a pilot or a flight operator. So the rules and regulation and the standard of qualification and requirements will be laid down in the ICAO Annex 1. So before you come up with the regulation, you have to refer to Annex 1, then comply, and the standard practices and recommendation practices will be given. So as much as possible, you try to stick within the personnel requirements and recommended practices within the prescripts of your own nation and your own country and your own requirements. You still have to adhere to the standard practices, standard and recommended practices by ICAO through the annexes. So each regulation you're coming up with, you've got to refer back to the ICAO annexes to produce the preferred regulations that are required. So ICAO is very successful today, and the aviation legislation have been produced fully totally from the ICAO annexes. If, let's say, an aircraft crashes, an aircraft from one country crashes in another country, the investigation will be taken by the rules that have been set down by ICAO, where the country in which the aircraft crashes the country where the aircraft came from, and other international organization comes together and participates in aircraft accident investigation under the umbrella of Icao. So this will take on the control of one state over the other, and it brings on an umbrella where all countries will feel comfortable in this particular instant of an accident investigation. So this is the importance of Icao, and while studying aviation legislation, Icao becomes very critical. Its its procedures, its recommendations, and also the freedoms of air that all airlines and all states under Icao enjoys today. Thank you for watching this video. This is the video based on Icao. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it was so helpful in this particular instance.